Welcome back to my channel. It's Chidima Favor. If it's the first time of coming across my channel, thank you so much. To my returning subscribers, God bless you. We're going to make an A-line skirt. Yeah, an A-line skirt for a client outside Nigeria. Alright, the first thing I did was to take her waist measurement, and I added just 1 inch for sewing allowance. You can add 1.5, is fine. Now from that 1 inch, from that waistline, I took away about 1.5 for waistband. Then I'm going just the same way you cut your flay, okay? So I rotate the tape in taking the measurement of the skirt length. All right, so I keep rotating my tape. Now there is something you should know about this A-line skirt. You don't want it to be like flay, okay? You don't want it to be as wide as flay skirt. All right, you just want it to have a little bit of space down, that's at the down part, but you don't want it to be as flay. All right, so go ahead and mark, draw a line. You saw the way I folded the fabric. All right, what I have here is about 1.5 yard, because she's not of a big size. Her hip is about 37, so she's not of a big size. Now I'm measuring the down part of this. I don't want it to be more than 20 to 25 is okay. 20 to 25 is okay. You don't want it to be too over wide. If you make it over wide, it becomes a fleece skirt. You don't want it to be a fleece skirt. You just want it to be an A-line skirt. All right, so that's exactly what I did here. So I just went ahead to measure the down part and take the space I want. Then I went ahead to cut it out. All right, after that, what I cut was just for the front. You can see that it's not too wide. You don't want it to be too wide, okay? After cutting it, if you notice that it's too wide at the hem side, you can go ahead and reduce it. All right, now the same thing I cut for the front is the same thing I'm going to cut at the back, because I'm adding a zipper by the side, not at the back. I don't want the zipper to be at the back. I want the zipper to be by the side. Okay, so after cutting that, you see what we have here. We have both our front and our back together. You notice that it's not too flayed. You don't want it to be too flayed, please. All right, I went ahead to make a waistband. This waistband, I went ahead to cut it and I interfaced it, because this material is very sensitive. Okay, it's a vintage material, but it's a light shade. All right, so I went ahead to interface the waistband. Now note something. When this waistband, while I cut it and I ironed it, I folded it in with about 1/2 inch. But while folding it in, I made sure that the back part will be longer than the front part. The back part needs to be longer, a bit, maybe 1/4 inch longer than the front part, so that when you are sewing it, you would sew the front and the back together. I don't want this cloth to have any rough edge at the back. I don't want to use a serging machine, so I made sure that I sewed everything at once, closing the edge. Like I said, this clothes is leaving the 4 walls of Nigeria. I'm showcasing my work outside Nigeria. Thank God for his mercy. So I want it to come out as neat as possible. You can see I used just 1 stitches, and the front and the back, I held them very well. Okay, I held it very well. You can see I have about 14 pieces of this cloth for a client that's living outside Nigeria, so I had to do my best to make sure that my work is neat. One thing I've practiced over time is to make sure that my work comes out very neat. My finishing is very important to me. Okay, for the back waist, I don't want, there's something I always do if I'm making clothes for somebody outside Nigeria. Okay, like for my auntie, this is the first time I'm making for a client. For the back waist, first thing I did was to add a little elastic. The reason why I add the little elastic is I don't want her to go maybe fitting the clothes, it becomes too loose on her, maybe she start looking out for where to make amendments. I did the same for about five trousers we made for her, either 5 or 6 trousers we made for her. I made the same thing. I added a little of elastic in between the waistband, just at the middle. I'm not doing this from the beginning to the end, just at the middle. You can see where I picked it from this edge to this edge. Just okay, so when she wears it, it glues her waist. Instead of it to be loosed, to just relax on her waist. This is what I do. I do it for my aunties and it's working for me. I do it for most of my clients that are in Nigeria but not within Lagos, maybe through reference, and it's working. So I always do that, and I recommend that anytime you're pushing your clothes outside the walls of Nigeria, just add a little elastic to help in holding down the waist. You don't want your client to be looking for where to amend the clothes. All right, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to also leave a tutorial on how I achieve the upper part of this clothes, because this was what she requested, so I'll drop a tutorial on how I did that. Thank you so much for all your efforts in my channel. I love you. Okay, like I always say, never give up. Help is on the way. Jesus is still on the throne. Never give up. Don't compromise your faith. I love you.